car show was filmed at an MOT station, I think in St Albans. And every year they lock it down for 12 weeks. And they were just gearing up to go for their whatever season. And the premises where they were had a problem. It felt like they were maybe holding them to ransom, they wanted more money, or something was happened about the premises.
Many people loved wheeler dealers, and one person fans always talked about was Ant Anstead, the guy who could take a rusty old car and make it shine. They loved his energy, his laugh, and the way he made tough repairs look easy. But behind the cameras and the loud engines, Ant's life was quietly falling apart. He went through tough moments, hard days, and still tried to keep going when nothing seemed to get better. And people around him wondered how someone who seemed so strong and happy could face so much pain. His story is filled with shocking turns and lessons about life that go far beyond car repairs. What really happened to Ant Anstead that was difficult for him to recover from? Join us as we delve into the details of this heartbreaking tragedy. From guns to gears. Ant Anstead did not begin his career in television or entertainment, and his early life followed a very different path before cars and fame became central to his story. He was born in England and grew up moving between different towns, where he developed an early interest in mechanical things. As a teenager, he became deeply focused on cars, not just driving them, but understanding how they worked. At the age of 16, he built his first kit car and sold it for profit, which showed early signs of his ability to turn a passion into something practical. This period was important because it built the foundation for everything that came later, even though he did not immediately follow that path as a full-time career. Instead of going straight into car building, Ant made a decision that took him into a completely different profession. At 18, he joined the police force in the United Kingdom, choosing a structured and demanding career over pursuing cars full-time. He worked as a police constable and later became part of a tactical firearms unit, which is a highly specialized and high-risk division. This role involved dealing with dangerous situations, and during his time in service, he faced life-threatening incidents that shaped his mindset and discipline. He spent about 6 years in the police and received 2 commendations for bravery, showing how active he was. Even while working in such a demanding role, he never left behind his interest in cars. His police schedule gave him periods of free time, and he used those moments to continue building and fixing vehicles. He would often work on multiple cars at the same time, buying older models, repairing them, and selling them again. This created a second track in his life where he was gradually building skills, experience, and confidence in car restoration. Over time, this side activity started to grow into something more serious as he gained more clients and began taking on larger projects. In 2005, Ant made a major life decision that changed his direction completely. He left the police force to focus entirely on building and restoring cars. At the beginning, his setup was very basic. He worked from a converted farm building, which he repaired in exchange for free rent. This showed that his transition was not smooth or supported by major resources. Instead, he built his business step by step, starting with small jobs and gradually expanding his work. During this time, he also played semi-professional football for many years to support himself financially while growing his car business. As his experience increased, his reputation also started to grow. He became known for building custom cars and unique designs, and his work began attracting more attention from clients outside his immediate area. He focused on quality and detail, which helped him stand out in a competitive field. Over time, he moved from small projects to more advanced builds, including one-off designs and restoration work that required high levels of skill. This gradual growth allowed him to establish himself as a strong name in the automotive space without relying on media exposure at the start. His entry into television came later, after he had already built a strong foundation in the car industry. He first appeared on automotive shows where his practical skills and direct approach made him interesting to viewers. His ability to explain mechanical processes in simple terms helped him connect with a wider audience. These early appearances led to more opportunities, and he began to take on larger roles in television projects focused on cars. This shift marked the point where his career started expanding beyond just building vehicles. In 2017, Ant joined the well-known car show Wheeler Dealers, replacing a previous mechanic and stepping into a role that already had an established audience. This was a significant moment because it brought him global recognition. The show involved buying, restoring, and selling cars, and it required both technical knowledge and the ability to work within a structured production environment. Ant's background in real car building helped him adapt quickly, and in no time, he became a key part of the program. However, the transition into television also introduced new challenges. The production schedule required consistent output, tight deadlines, and the ability to perform on camera while maintaining technical accuracy. This created pressure that was different from working independently in a workshop. While the show increased his visibility and career opportunities, it also demanded a balance between entertainment and real mechanical work. Over time, this pressure became an important factor in shaping his experience on the show and his decisions moving forward. However, that was just part of the struggles he faced. Broken roads. Before his rise into global television, Ant Anstead had built a long-term relationship that started when he was still very young, and this part of his life shaped many of the decisions he made later. He met his first wife, Louise, when they were both teenagers, and their relationship developed over many years before they eventually got married in 2005. The length of this relationship is important because it lasted through early adulthood, career changes, and the early stages of family building. Over time, they had 2 children together, a daughter and a son, which created a household that existed long before Ant became widely known in the media. During this period, Ant was not yet a television personality, and his focus remained on building his career and supporting his family. His transition from police work into car building happened while he was still in this marriage, which meant that many of the risks he took were not just personal, but also affected his family. Balancing a growing business with family responsibilities created pressure, especially as he worked to establish himself in a competitive industry. Even though there is limited public detail about the internal dynamics of the marriage, it is clear that this was a period where both personal and professional responsibilities clashed constantly. After many years together, the relationship began to change, and by 2017, Ant and Louise separated after more than a decade of marriage and over 20 years together as a couple. The separation marked a major shift in his life because it ended a long-standing partnership that had been present during nearly every stage of his adult life. The divorce was later finalized in 2018, formally closing that chapter. Despite the separation, reports indicate that they remained on good terms and continued to communicate regularly while co-parenting their children, which helped maintain some level of stability for their family structure. At the same time that his marriage was ending, Ant was also going through significant professional changes. Around this period, he had begun gaining more recognition through television work, which added a new level of visibility to his life. Managing a public career while dealing with a private separation created a complex situation. The demands of filming, travel, and maintaining a public image can increase stress, especially when combined with changes at home. Such a major life event would most likely affect focus, decision-making, and overall stability during a time when his career was expanding. Another important factor during this time was the change in environment. His involvement with television work, particularly in the United States, began to pull his life away from the United Kingdom, where his children stayed. This created a situation where his personal life became divided across different locations. Maintaining a relationship with his children while also building a career abroad required constant adjustment, planning, and emotional effort. This kind of distance can influence both personal well-being and professional consistency, especially when combined with the demands of a growing public career. Meanwhile, there was an overlap between his divorce and the start of a new relationship. Around the time his marriage was ending, Ant began a relationship with American television personality Christina Hall, which quickly became public. This transition happened within a relatively short period, meaning that multiple major life changes were occurring at once. Moving from a long-term marriage into a new, highly visible relationship brought attention from media and audiences, increasing pressure on both his personal and professional life. The speed of these changes made the issue more intense, as he had to adjust to new roles both privately and publicly. The emotional impact of ending a long-term marriage is often significant, especially when children are involved, and this situation was no different. Even when a separation is handled respectfully, it still represents a major change in daily life, routines, and responsibilities. For someone who was also building a public career at the same time, the challenge becomes managing personal emotions while continuing to perform professionally. This balance is not always easy, and it can influence how decisions are made, how work is approached, and how future opportunities are handled. In addition to emotional adjustments, there are also practical effects that come with divorce. For someone running a business or working in a project-based industry like television, these changes can influence how risks are taken and how stable a situation feels. This period, therefore, represents not just a personal transition, but also a time where professional decisions had to be made carefully. As this phase of his life unfolded, Ant was moving from a private life into a more public one, while also adjusting to the end of a long-term relationship and maintaining his role as a father. While his first marriage ended peacefully, his second was a total disaster. Love gone wrong. Ant Anstead's second marriage brought a different kind of attention into his life, and this period became one of the most difficult phases he had to deal with, especially after the relationship ended. He married Christina Hall in 2018 after a fast-moving relationship that quickly became part of the public eye due to both of their television careers. Their life together was very visible, and in 2019, they welcomed their son, Hudson. What followed after their split, however, turned into a long and complicated situation that went far beyond a normal divorce, majorly because it involved disagreements over how their son should be raised. After their separation in 2020 and the finalization of their divorce in 2021, issues began to surface around parenting decisions, particularly concerning their son's presence in the media. Both Ant and Christina were public figures, and this made even small parenting choices more visible and prone to scrutiny. Ant raised concerns regarding Christina's use of their child's image in promotional content and online posts. He argued that their son should not be placed in situations where his image could be used for commercial purposes or public exposure without strict agreement from both parents. This disagreement did not stay private for long, and it became part of a legal process when Ant filed for full custody in 2022. His filing included concerns about how Hudson was being raised and how often he was appearing in public-facing content. He requested that the court either grant him full custody or put clear restrictions on how their child could be shown in media, including social platforms and television. This move showed that the situation had gone beyond simple dispute and reached a point where legal intervention was necessary. It also made the conflict public, bringing attention from media outlets who began following the situation closely. Christina responded to these claims aggressively, and her reaction showed how intense the situation had become. She publicly stated that she felt emotionally drained by the accusations and believed that the claims made against her were unfair. She also accused Ant of using public filings and online platforms in a way that affected her reputation, stating that the situation was impacting her household and personal life. This back and forth created a situation where both sides were presenting their views openly, making the dispute more public and more complicated. As the conflict continued, the issue of Hudson's presence on social media became even more central. Christina announced that she would stop posting her son on social media and would also remove him from television appearances until he was old enough to make his own decisions. This decision showed how serious the situation had become, as it directly responded to the concerns raised during the custody dispute. It also highlighted the larger issue of how children of public figures are presented online, particularly when both parents have different views on privacy and exposure. The legal process itself was not simple. Both parties went through mediation in an attempt to resolve their differences, including a reported long session that lasted several hours without reaching a final agreement at the time. The disagreement was not something that could be easily settled and required multiple discussions and legal steps before any resolution could be reached. The fact that mediation did not immediately work extended the duration of the conflict. At the same time, the public nature of their careers meant that everything happening between them was being watched and discussed. Another aspect of the situation came from the specific claims made during the custody filings. Ant expressed concerns about certain parenting decisions and situations that he believed were not in their son's best interest, while Christina's side argued that these claims were exaggerated or taken out of context. These opposing views made the case more complex, as both sides were presenting different interpretations of the same situations. This kind of conflict often makes resolution more difficult, especially when both parties strongly believe they are acting in the best interest of the child. Eventually, after months of legal actions, statements, and mediation efforts, the situation moved toward a more stable arrangement. Reports confirmed that both Ant and Christina agreed to continue sharing joint legal and physical custody of their son, which allowed both parents to remain involved in his life. Throughout this period, the combination of legal challenges, public attention, and personal disagreements created a stressful environment. Managing all of these factors at the same time required ongoing adjustments, communication, and legal guidance, making it one of the most difficult periods in Ant Anstead's personal life. Unfortunately, life wasn't done dealing him blows yet. The bankruptcy nightmare. After years of building cars and working in television, he became involved in launching a company called Radford Motors, a project that aimed to revive a historic automotive brand and produce high-end, limited-edition vehicles. This business ownership at a higher level came with a level of risk that was different from working on cars individually. They focused on creating exclusive cars, including the Lotus-based Type 62-2, which was designed as a premium product for a very specific market of buyers. This kind of business required large investments, careful planning, and strong financial management because the production process was complex and expensive. From the beginning, the company operated in a space where expectations were high and margins for error were small. Customers were required to pay large deposits in advance to secure a place for these limited vehicles, with some deposits reported to be over $100,000. These payments were meant to support the production process, including sourcing materials, engineering work, and manufacturing. However, as time went on, problems began to appear, especially regarding delays in delivering the vehicles and communication with customers. Some buyers started to question the progress of their cars and requested refunds when deadlines were not met. Several legal cases were filed against the company, with customers claiming that they had paid deposits but did not receive their cars or their money back. One case involved a customer who paid over $100,000 for a vehicle that was expected to be delivered within a set timeline. But after delays and what he described as a lack of progress, he requested a refund that was not returned. These claims created serious concerns about how the business was being managed and whether it could meet its obligations. As more complaints appeared, the situation became more difficult to control, and legal pressure began to increase. In addition to customer complaints, there were also disputes involving business partners and internal management. A former associate claimed that he was owed around $2 million, while others accused the company of mismanaging funds and using customer deposits in ways that were not directly related to building the cars. These allegations added another layer of complexity because they suggested that the issues were not only external, but also internal. Disagreements between partners can affect decision-making, delay progress, and create instability within a company, especially when the business is still developing. As these legal and financial challenges continued, the company reached a critical point in 2024 when it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the United States. This type of filing is usually used to allow a business to reorganize its debts while continuing operations. At that stage, the goal was to stabilize the company, address claims from creditors, and find a way to continue producing vehicles. However, even with this effort, the situation did not improve enough to fully resolve the underlying problems. Further developments showed that the situation became more serious over time. In 2025, the company's bankruptcy status was converted from Chapter 11 to Chapter 7, which is a more severe form of bankruptcy that often leads to liquidation of assets. This change indicated that the company was no longer able to continue operating in a way that would allow it to recover through restructuring alone. Instead, it faced the possibility of selling assets to pay debts, which is a significant step for any business and often marks the end of operations in its current form. During this period, additional legal judgments also appeared. In one case, a court ordered payment of over $100,000 related to a dispute involving a promised vehicle that was not delivered. Although later developments showed that some legal outcomes could change, the presence of multiple cases signaled how widespread the issues had become. Legal disputes require time, financial resources, and attention, which can further strain a business that is already facing operational challenges. Another issue involved the company's physical location and operations. Reports indicated that the company continued to occupy its headquarters in California even after its lease had been terminated, leading to further legal complications involving the property owner. Situations like this add pressure because they involve not just financial obligations, but also operational disruptions. Losing access to a primary location can affect production, staffing, and the ability to continue work on ongoing projects. Throughout all of this, the company maintained that it intended to continue working and fulfill its commitments, stating that restructuring was part of a longer-term plan. However, the combination of lawsuits, financial strain, and operational challenges made it difficult to maintain stability. Businesses in the automotive sector, especially those producing limited high-end vehicles, depend heavily on trust, timing, and consistent delivery. And when these elements are affected, it can lead to wider consequences. Ant's experience showed how quickly a high-risk business can move from expansion to crisis when multiple problems occur at the same time. Large upfront payments, complex production processes, and disagreements between partners created a situation where delays and legal issues became difficult to manage. As the company faced increasing pressure from customers, partners, and legal systems, the challenges moved beyond normal business risks and became a full financial and legal crisis that required major intervention and restructuring efforts. Yet, that wasn't the end of it. When life hits full throttle, in the later years, Ant Anstead went through a series of personal challenges that were not connected to business or relationships, but instead came from health issues, unexpected accidents, and emotional losses that happened close together over a short period of time. One of the most serious moments came when he suffered a sudden and severe injury while playing football, an activity that is normally considered routine and low risk. During the game, he experienced what he later described as a freak accident that caused multiple serious injuries to his upper body. The injuries were not minor and required immediate medical attention. Reports confirmed that he detached his pectoral muscle and also tore his rotator cuff and labrum, which are critical parts of the shoulder that allow movement and strength in the arm. These types of injuries are usually associated with high-impact sports or heavy physical strain, but in this case, they happened unexpectedly during a normal game. The damage was serious enough that surgery was required, and after the procedure, he was forced to stop all physical activity and enter a recovery period. This was a major adjustment, especially for someone who had spent years being active, working with tools, and maintaining a hands-on lifestyle. Recovery from this kind of injury involves both physical and mental challenges. Being unable to move freely or work at full capacity can affect daily routines, mostly for someone used to constant activity. He shared that being forced to rest was something he struggled with, which shows how different this phase of life was compared to his usual pace. The recovery process required patience, medical supervision, and a complete shift in how he approached his own health. This situation also pushed him to start paying closer attention to his physical condition, including diet, exercise, and overall well-being, which had not been his primary focus before. At the same time as this injury, there were other events happening that added emotional pressure. He revealed that several people close to him were dealing with serious health problems during that same period, which made him start thinking more deeply about his own health and future. Hearing about multiple friends facing serious diagnoses created a sense of urgency and concern when combined with his own injury. It showed that this was not just a physical setback, but also a moment where he had to reconsider how he was living and what changes might be necessary moving forward. Another tragic event took place in 2023 when he lost a close friend and business partner unexpectedly. The person passed away in his sleep at the age of 49, making the situation even more difficult to process because it happened without warning. This loss was significant because it was not just a personal friendship, but also a professional connection tied to ongoing projects. Losing someone in that position can affect both emotional stability and work-related plans, including when there are shared responsibilities or unfinished work involved. He spoke publicly about the loss, describing his friend as someone important and expressing how deeply it affected him. Situations like this often create a lasting impact because they serve as reminders of how unpredictable life can be. The sudden nature of the loss, combined with the fact that the person had a family, added another layer of emotional weight. This type of experience can influence how someone views their priorities, relationships, and long-term decisions, especially when it happens during an already challenging period. In 2025, Ant Anstead became involved in a legal case connected to a property he was renting in California. A guest claimed that she was injured after falling on the patio due to what she described as unsafe conditions, and she filed a lawsuit seeking damages for physical and emotional harm. The case included claims against him, his partner, and the property owner, creating a complex legal situation involving multiple parties. A trial date was even scheduled, showing that the issue had progressed into a formal legal process. In recent years, Ant became involved with another woman named Renee Zellweger after they crossed paths in 2021 during the filming of Celebrity EOU Joyride, a show he hosted where she appeared as a guest. This relationship with Renee took on a very different tone compared to his past. What started there quickly grew into something deeper, but they chose to keep it out of the spotlight for a long time. They stayed away from major red carpet moments, kept their social media posts minimal, and spoke about each other in short but meaningful ways. By 2025, Renee had fully settled into life with Ant and his son Hudson in San Diego. People close to them shared that she played a major role in bringing stability to the home, especially during the difficult period surrounding his split from Christina Hall. She supported him behind the scenes, made appearances in parts of Ant Anstead, Born Mechanic, helped organize Hudson's birthday, and stepped in to handle things when media pressure became overwhelming. In a heartfelt message for her birthday in 2024, Ant described her as the kindest person he knew and someone who truly understood him. Photos of the two together reflected a different kind of connection, less public, less intense, but noticeably more grounded and content. Meanwhile, when it came to his career, Ant also shifted direction. Rather than juggling multiple television roles, he focused on his personal project, Ant Anstead, Born Mechanic, which debuted in 2024. The series stripped things back. No flashy stage, no celebrity features, just his journey restoring a 500-year-old farmhouse in England, intended as a future home for his parents. The project was funded through restoring and selling classic cars, echoing how he first built his career. The show connected well with audiences and earned a second season renewal in 2025. Through all the chaos he had faced, this path became the place where he finally found some balance. And he embraced it. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.